After 10 years, we finally have a new movie in the Shrek franchise, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what did you think about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and give me kind of a point of reference, your experience with the Shrek franchise, to let you know a little bit about my experience with the Shrek movies. I have absolutely no nostalgia for the Shrek franchise at all. The first movie came out when I was like 20 years old. Here I am! And when I was in my early 20s, I was not rushing out to watch Michael Myers as an animated ogre. And so I didn't see a single Shrek movie from beginning till end until just a couple years back during COVID lockdown, when I decided to watch through all the DreamWorks films. So I'm just kind of going in really as a dad and as a movie lover, not with someone with any deep connections to this franchise at all. With that said, here's what I thought about the movie. And as someone with absolutely no stake in the Shrek franchise, I thought this one might just be the best of the entire bunch. I mean, it has everything that you want from a Shrek movie, with the witty spin on the fairy tales, the humor, the action, the lively characters, but without feeling like it's just rehashing what worked 20 years ago in Shrek 1 and 2. Feels like they brought in some new blood of people that really understand what made the great Shrek movies tick, but also that we're bringing in a new perspective on them, new animation techniques, in which case you get the wit, you get the excitement, you get the humor, you get all the stuff that you want, with it all feeling like an updated version of all of it. And I think what really elevated this movie for me is that of all the films in the Shrek franchise, I think this is the one that best merges story, character arc, and themes into a cohesive film, where you have a very clear arc for Puss in Boots as this aging legend who's used up 8 of his 9 lives.
I have 9 lives. And how many times have you died already?
And he's starting to think like, hey, wait a minute, I've only got 1 life to live now. And they just tell a story that honors him, challenges him, and provides plenty of opportunity for hilarious bits as well as exciting action sequences. And it just felt very focused, like they knew exactly what they wanted to communicate and found a story to do it. Other thing in there that worked surprisingly well is that there's a lot of kind of characters and moving parts. And around the middle of the movie, I was starting to think, oh man, I think this movie's overcrowded, it has too many villains in it. And as soon as I started to think that, I realized how they were using all of the different characters to fulfill a different purpose for the story and everything that it was trying to do. In which case, as soon as it got to the back half, I was like, oh no, this actually works really nicely. And certain characters that initially you think are bad guys, you realize there's a little bit more to them. You realize that there's some purpose that they serve for both the story as well as the character arc, themes, ideas being explored. By the time you get to the end of the movie, it really pulls it all together, puts a big gigantic grin on your face, and it teases some things at the end, and whether it plays all of that out or it's just kind of a nice little note to end on, it just does it right. Like they knew how to end this movie, the right journey for this character, and the right place to end the story. The other great thing about this movie is that by far, this is the Shrek film with the best and most interesting animation. Some of that's unfair because obviously animation has evolved tremendously over the last 20 years, or even over just the last 10 years. So naturally, they're able to do a lot more. It's gonna look much better and have much more layered and complex textures to the animation simply because of technology. But beyond that, they just do a bunch of really creative things in how they visualize certain characters. the way that sometimes they use a slower frame rate, just all sorts of things about it. It looks really cool. There's an art to the way they animated this movie, visualized certain characters, showed and represented the fear that Puss in Boots is feeling. It's not just that the technology is better, there's an artistic flair to how they visualized this movie that I don't feel was present in the other movies. Of course, it's really funny from beginning to end.
No, Puss in Boots doesn't need a spotter. Watch.
And like I said, it doesn't feel like it's just copying jokes that worked 20 years ago. It has its own sense of humor. It has its own way that it's doing things that feels like a next step from what came before. It doesn't feel detached from it, but it's not rehashing it at the same time. One thing I think you do need to know about this movie is that probably has a little bit more of a darker edge to it than the other Shrek films. The Shrek movies have always had kind of an edge to their humor, and this one does too, and even the language is a little bit harsher than I think some of the other movies. But this one has a darker edge to it where the bounty hunter wolf villain is pretty intense.
Lives flashing before your eyes?
My 4-year-old was not crazy about that character, got a little bit freaked out. Probably need to know that going into it. I don't have any overt negatives about this movie. About the film they were trying to make, I think they delivered it really well. It's not like the grandest story of all time. It didn't evoke the biggest emotions out of me or anything like that. So it's, you know, not like one of my favorite films of all time, but I think they absolutely delivered the movie they were trying to deliver. That's my take on it. What did my kids think about it, who are the target age for this franchise?
But I'm an old man, I'm not the target audience. Chloe, what did you think about the movie?
I thought the movie was a fun movie, and I liked how that Puss in Boots was like learning to grow and change. One of the things I didn't really like about the movie, the villain was a bit too scary, so it might scare like little kids. My sister over here was scared, but by the end it has a happy ending. It'll put a big grin on your face.
Karis, what did you think about the movie?
I liked the movie, and I want to be for Halloween. It's Captain Boots.
You want to be Puss in Boots for Halloween?
Yes, I want to be Puss in Boots.
I thought it was great. Chloe thought it was great, and the little girl that was afraid of the movie loved it so much she wants to be Puss in Boots for Halloween. That's what we thought about it.
Real quick before I give you my final thoughts, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what did you think about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and what's kind of your experience with the Shrek franchise in general. Also, come back in a couple days. I'm going to be ranking all of the Shrek movies. I rewatched all of them over the last couple of weeks, and then we got this new one, so I'm excited to talk about the Shrek movies. So, as someone that probably has less of a connection to the Shrek and Puss in Boots movies than you do, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was a great animated film, one of the best animated movies of the year, maybe the best animated movie of the year. My kids loved it. It has a heart, it has great action, it has great characters, it has plenty of humor in it. This just might be the best of the Shrek franchise. Overall, I'll give this one an A- on the entertainment scale and an 8.5 out of 10. And you should definitely go see this movie if you're a fan of the Shrek franchise. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can check out my ranking of all of the DreamWorks movies right over there. A lot of those were first-time watches for me, so that was a bit of an interesting ranking. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.